right, welcome back. Now, Mombasa faces significant governance challenges. Foremost in this regard is the inability so far by elected leaders in the municipal council to develop an effective vision and strategy for dealing with urban poverty, stakeholder engagement, and consolidating accountability and transparency to improve service delivery. Moreover, city governance is complicated by fragmented and overlapping responsibilities among service providers like the municipal council, the water utility, sector ministries, and the devolved funds that fall outside the municipal council's remit, such as the CDF and the road fund. Will the emergence of a county governance solve all these problems? Well, to tell us more on this is Suleiman SHAHBAL, Mombasa County Governor aspirant, who is here with me. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
Right. Now, you say that the resources in Mombasa, they need to be actually governed well. And I'm wondering, what do you really have up your collective sleeves as far as governance is concerned in this county?
I think that Mombasa has failed in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Our infrastructure is collapsing. Our educational standards are collapsing. Our poverty levels are amongst the highest in the country. Our education is the worst performing in the country. Clearly something is not working. The city has become one big dump, and we don't see any vision or any strategy on the part of our leadership. And it's time to change that.
Right. You know, also right now, not all the parts of Mombasa are giving you a very welcoming, good red carpet. Of course, there is some frosty receptions that you're receiving. You also went to Likoni, and the leaders there were not really amused that you want to have a running mate from the area. Why the frosty reception?
Number one, I don't think that is correct. I have been to Likoni numerous times, and the reception is extremely good. I did not expect a red carpet in Mombasa. You don't expect to come and start running for the highest seat in the county and expect the political class to welcome you with open arms. The hostile reception was from the former mayor.
From the former mayor.
From the former mayor, and that's to be expected. I mean, he's part of the opposition camp, so that is part of the game. I'm not at all surprised. But I think that Likoni is probably one of the areas where I have my strongest support.
In your plan, you have a plan to actually overhaul the education sector in Mombasa. You say that you want to convert all the Ds to As, and I'm wondering what this plan is. What is the plan?
Number of things. Number one, we need to have some short-term, medium-term, and long-term objectives. Short-term objectives is immediately to start helping our students in Standard 8 and in Form 4 start preparing for the exams in advance. I am convinced that if our students start preparing for the exams 1 year in advance, by the time they reach the exam level, they're ready. This is number one. So this is the immediate short-term gain that we have to work. We have to work between the parents, the students, and the teachers to create an environment which will help them study and prepare themselves for the exams. The second phase is to now look at the bigger problem that we have with schools in Mombasa. And I guess it's countrywide. Overworked teachers, underpaid teachers, teachers who are demoralized. Number two, many of the schools don't even have proper books. Number three, overcrowding in the schools. Number four, a basic failure on the partnership between parents, students, and teachers. I believe that we need to start changing our culture and our approach to education in the coast. We have to start taking education much more seriously. Now, the short-term things we can do immediately. The intermediate will take a little bit of time. But the long-term and the more important one is to start emphasizing the importance of education and the commitment that we as parents, that we as a community must put towards education. That's something we have to work on immediately.
And you think that is not happening right now? The leaders have failed in that arena?
It's not happening. Unfortunately, it's not happening. If it was there, we would not have seen these results for the last 10 years. This is not something that happened in the last 6 months or the last 1 year. The educational results of Mombasa County for the last 10 years have been a disaster. And every time the results come out, you see politicians will come out and will blame the teachers and will blame this one and that one. But there is no concerted effort to deal with the issue, address the issue, and move on.
Don't you think maybe it's not even a big issue with the education sector? Maybe it is the cavalier attitude that is within the populace in Mombasa.
Well, that's what I said.
You need to have a paradigm shift, not within the education sector, but the students themselves, the parents themselves, they have a cavalier attitude, don't you think?
You're right, but the paradigm shift is not just done mental. That's one of the shifts. There's also the necessity to change the system, to improve the system. So the challenge is not just, parents have to wake up tomorrow morning and take education more seriously. No. All of us have to take education more seriously. We need to start reinvesting in the educational sector and to start making the changes that we must do. Otherwise, we will have a serious issue of coastal people becoming second-class citizens in our own country.
Now, Kenya Urban Roads Authority, they've actually labeled Mombasa as the worst in terms of infrastructure. The roads there, they're just in bad shape. And I'm wondering, yes, you want to be the governor of Mombasa. How are you planning also in restoring the infrastructure in Mombasa?
Well, one of the things is we have to work with the road systems and with the Ministry of Roads, that's for sure. But we also, as the governor of Mombasa, will have to put in some investment. We cannot wait indefinitely until the central government starts repairing all our roads and fixing all of our infrastructure. It is the infrastructure that is really letting us down. And this is one of the reasons why I challenge the allocation of revenues. Mombasa has been given 4.4 billion. And they say this is unacceptable. Mombasa carries the burden of the whole nation. Every single container coming into Kenya crosses our roads and damages our roads. How can you then turn around and give us the same amount of money, actually even less than what you're giving Moyale? So there is a need for government to recognize that Mombasa's infrastructure requires a bigger investment than many parts of the country. We're carrying the burden of the nation on our shoulders.
Right. Now, why are you waiting to be a governor? What are you doing right now that you're not a governor? You're waiting for governorship to give you a fresh impetus and a muscle to do all this. What have you been doing so that we can know, yes, you're the right leader for this position? You've been doing something.
I'm sorry. We have been working with communities across 30 counties of Mombasa, 30 wards of Mombasa, to improve educational results. We're trying to help our students to start preparing for the exams. We're working with youth groups to empower them. We are working with youth groups to work on the environment. We are working with NGOs and drug associations to raise the sensitivity about the drug issue and to try and stop this menace as much as we can. We are raising sensitivity amongst the business community and the educated class that they must get involved in the coming politics of this country if we are to change course in Mombasa. No longer can the community stand aside and say, siasa chafu, therefore we don't want to get involved, and then expect to see changes. It's time for the whole community to recognize that these are collective problems and we must all get involved to change them.
What are you doing as far as infrastructure is concerned? What have you been doing?
I can't do much as infrastructure. Infrastructure is a major investment. It's something that government must get involved in.
But in terms of pushing the envelopes, you can do something. In terms of raising voices and being vocal about the infrastructure in Mombasa as it's concerned right now, you can do something. We've shouted to the mountaintop, but nobody's listening. The reality of change in Kenya is that when it comes to things like infrastructure, it is government that must move. Now we're sitting outside the political establishment, raising a lot of issues about infrastructure, and we're not getting heard. Look at the rubbish in Mombasa. This is completely unacceptable. But who is responsible for this? We have a council whose responsibility is to do that, to clean the city, and they're incapable of cleaning. That is the reason why I'm in politics. We can no longer allow this incompetence to continue indefinitely.
So if you're asking whether I'm making noise, the biggest noise I'm making is running for governor. Because I'm saying enough is enough. We must change this thing.
Right. Let's move on. Have you ever held a dialogue with the Mombasa Republican Council?
I have had meetings with some of their people. Whether you want to call it dialogue, I don't think that is the correct word, but I've met some of them in discussions. And what is your issue about the MRC?
Yes. What do you think about that outfit, with them saying they're not part of Kenya?
You see, there are two issues when it comes to the MRC. Number one is, what are the concerns that they are raising about? And the second is, what are the strategies that they are proposing? The concerns are land issues, unemployment, and marginalization, which are very legitimate issues. But the strategy that they are using is unacceptable. Number one, this issue of secession doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Number two, the approach that let us not vote also doesn't make sense. And we've said this openly. Voting is going to happen whether they vote or they don't vote. Even if 20 people vote, the vote will be counted. So there's no point trying to bury your head in the sand. And the third is the position that some of the extremists in the MRC are taking, that Wabara don't have a right to be here. That is something that we reject. Everybody, every Kenyan has the right to live in Pwani. So when you look at this whole MRC issue, like I said, there are two sides to it. Number one, the issues that they are concerned about are legitimate and need to be addressed. The strategies that they're using don't make sense, and we disagree with them.
So what are these legit issues that we are talking about? Have you sat with them to really feel why they're feeling ostracized and they feel marginalized?
Well, number one, land issues. We've had land problems long before independence. They have not been adequately addressed, even though within our national framework, we have put in systems in which we can address land issues. Number two, unemployment. Massive, massive unemployment across the coast. And number three, marginalization. The feeling that people in Pwani are marginalizing Kenya. Like the current issue that's going on in KPA, where you have a board of 12 and only 3 are from the coast. These are the issues that create unnecessary tension in the coast.
So if you are the governor and we have a scenario such as what is really happening with the KPA, what will you do?
I think the recommendation is that we need to be a little bit more sensitive to the fact that Kenya is a multicultural society. And the selection of boards, or even the selection of major positions, should be nationally spread out. And I'm not only saying just for Pwani, I'm saying across the country.
Yes.
Because the Ports Authority, refer to ports in Kisumu, refer to ports, inland ports, they refer to ports across the country. So it should be more representative of the country.
Right. Don't you think then, if you become the governor and we do not really rein in on the MRC right now, it will be a headache for you?
Absolutely.
Yes?
Absolutely. It's going to be a headache. But I've consistently said that these issues are best addressed by dialogue. Government cannot bury its head in the sand and say this outfit is illegal, therefore we won't talk to them. And MRC cannot bury its head in the sand and say until we are recognized we won't talk. We should sit down and talk and resolve the issues that are outstanding and move on.
Right. Let's take this conversation around deeper. Of course, we know that Mombasa has the beautiful coastal lines and the shorelines that we have there. But the attendant problem that comes with that also is that of sex tourism right now.
Correct.
And I'm wondering, yes, is this an issue that you failed also to capture in your vision? Because I did see that it is conspicuously missing from the vision.
No.
How are you planning to address this?
I have raised this many times. You see, tourism does not necessarily have to come with sex tourism. Look at two examples. Look at Malaysia and look at Thailand. Right across each other. Thailand tolerates the sex tourism. Malaysia does not. But Malaysia gets 27 million tourists a year. So I completely reject the notion that you have to be extra liberal to allow all sorts of...
But Thailand and Malaysia, they've become a bit stringent. That's why now all this sex tourism is really now coming into Kenya. They see this is a very good spawning ground because it's a spawning ground because we have lakhs of leaders muscling their effort to really try and stem this problem.
No, I don't think you're right, sir. Sex tourism is very rampant in Thailand. Sex tourism in Malaysia is almost non-existent. We in Kenya have to insist on our moral values. Mm-hmm. We cannot allow tourists to come into Kenya and mess around with young kids. Mm-hmm. That's illegal in any country. Mm-hmm. And we must be prepared to enforce our laws and for have people to respect us. You must respect yourself first if you want people to respect you. And if our tourism people feel that the only way we will get tourists is by allowing these pedophiles to come into Kenya, those are tourists we can do without.
Right. We're speaking to Suleiman SHAHBAL, governor aspirant Mombasa County, who's telling us his vision of how he's going to diametrically change the face of Mombasa from what it is right now. And we have callers hanging on the line. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Give us your name and where you're calling from.
Bernard.
Yes, Bernard.
I'm calling from Nairobi.
Yes.
I have a question for Sister Suleiman, who is contesting for County Governor Mombasa.
Sure, sure.
I want to take issue with him on MRC. They are saying that they are marginalized and they have no employment. I want to ask you whether they have the qualification, are they doing the training required to get employment? Or it's just complaining of employment? Yes, he does have the qualification. That means they have not trained. Yes.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so very much. You got your question back. Right. Another call on the line. Hello. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Right. Let's move on and we address that issue of Bernard. Of course, we just talking back on the MRC. Do you think maybe they're just making a lot of noise, but they don't want to get down to the brass tacks and get to employment?
Bernard, I don't think your position is right. Number one, I know for a fact that we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people looking for jobs across the coast, and there are no